All right, first up we got the high knees. Focusing on getting the knees up, keeping the feet up, the toes up. And now we got butt kicks. Focusing on driving the heel up, trying to touch the butt.
Next we have high skip. We have the alternating hand, the alternating knee going high up.
Here we have the back pedal with reach. We're trying to get from one end to the other with as few steps as possible. Heel to the butt and reach back. Power karaoke here, focusing on driving the knee up and over. We're gonna do this going down and back to hit both ends. We're doing a knee pull with a lunge. Pull the knee up to the chest, feel the stretch in the glute. Right into a lunge, feeling that stretch in the hip flexor. Careful with that knee on the track. Try not to bounce off it. Lunge in every step.
This here is a quad pull into the RDL. Main thing to focus on here is your balance and getting that good stretch in your quad.
Next is a push-up with a rotation, making sure you're following your hand with your eyes. You're alternating sides to get both sides, really opening up the chest here. Trying to get those hands as high as you can towards that ceiling.
Okay, so here we have the PVC overhead squat. We will have our hands wide, and then we're up overhead. And then we're gonna get down into our squat, keeping our weight on our heels, shifting that butt backward and down. Go ahead and squat all the way down. Good. And then we're pushing our face through the glass. So we really wanna squeeze our rhomboids right back in the shoulders as we squat. Good.
Next we have the back squat. So in the back squat, we're gonna keep our bar just on the top traps there, and we're gonna make sure that our elbows are flaring back. So if you have a lot of weight, you're not losing it behind you. Then we're going to think about sinking down through the heels, pushing the butt backwards as we go down, and exploding out of the bottom of our squat. Trying to get a little bit more depth each time.
So here we have the RDL. He wants to make sure he's hinging at the hips, keeping his shoulders active, keeping the bar close to the body, and go down just as far to have that max stretch.
So here we have what we call bird dog. We're going to be in quadruped here, hands and knees. And we're going to alternate extending our arm and leg, keeping a nice tight core. So we want our belly button drawn to the spine here, keeping that bracing. And we don't want to see a lot of lumbar sag here. So we want to make sure that we're nice and straight through our spine.
Here we have the bench press. Make sure that when you get under the bench press, you always have a spotter. And that when you align yourself with the bar, keep your eyes directly under the bar. From here, let the bar come close to your chest, and then push up and squeeze your chest as you're going up.
We want to make sure we're pulling the bar apart too, squeezing the shoulder blades.
Next we have band pull apart. So we're gonna think about our shoulder blades coming down and back, making sure they're moving properly, pulling that band apart nice and quickly, pulling it across your chest, kind of breaking the band, and then releasing slowly. Now we have the inverted row, making sure you are keeping your chest and hips in line with your feet, making sure your body is in a completely blank position, and shortening up the legs will shorten up the lever and make it just a little bit easier.
Okay, so here we have rear foot elevated, so we are with one leg and then the other leg up on the bench back here. When we get into our squat, we want to make sure that our weight is through our heel, not to the point though where we can't pick up our toes. We want to use our whole placement of our foot. And on the back leg, we want to work on decreasing the angle. So when we squat, we want to kind of go down and back, bending the back knee down towards the ground here. Nice upright posture.
All right, so right here we have the dead bug. We're gonna start off with our arms and legs up. Make sure to keep your core engaged. You're gonna do opposite leg, opposite arm. Make sure to keep your butt pushed down into the ground and make sure your shoulders are active.
And now we have the aggressive march, focusing on driving the knee up, nice and quick, to the runner's position. And this time we have high knees, focusing on getting the knees up, nice and quick. And now we got butt kicks, focusing on driving the heel up, trying to touch the butt.
Power karaoke here, focusing on driving the knee up and over. We're gonna do this going down and back to hit both ends.
So this here is the lateral takeoff. You would do this on both sides. And 3, 2, 1, go. Focusing on the explosion and the takeoff.
Next, we're looking at deceleration. We're gonna start at one point and decelerate at the white line before the cones. Ready, go. So here, the running. We gotta decelerate real quick and stop in that stance.
So here we're doing our forward, backward hops, short, tiny hops, crossing the line like line hops. Go. And take off. Now we're gonna do our lateral line hops, and we wanna make sure we're doing these on both sides. Again, quick contact with the floor, back into the next hop. Start. Take off. Now we're gonna start our rotational hops. We wanna make sure we're feeling a swivel in the hips. Again, short contact time with the ground. Start. See the rotation in the hips. Take off. We're gonna wanna do this on both.
Here we have leg swings. We're gonna go back and forth with both legs, making sure your hips stay parallel with the bleachers or whatever you are working off of. And here we have the leg swings to work on the inside of your leg here, working on keeping, again, those legs or the hips parallel, not swinging those legs too high that your hamstrings can't take it.
Okay, so here we have the 7-cone drill. And the emphasis on this is we want to make sure we're going around the cones. Okay, we can do a lot of different agility stuff out of this. Right here we have a shuffle across and sprint to the top cone. Once he gets to this top cone, he's going to cut it and he's going to sprint back through, finishing at the start.
So right here we have the T-drill. She's exploding out into a sprint and then goes to a shuffle, making sure to touch every cone. And then she's doing an explosive back pedal out of it. All right, so here we have the 4-cone box drill. She's gonna sprint out, making sure she's breaking down into a karaoke, doing back pedal into a shuffle, making sure she stays low.
Okay, go ahead. So here we have the L drill on the cones. We're running down, we're touching with our left hand, coming back, touching with our right. And then we go and we cut around the cone, doing about a half figure 8 back to the outside of the cone. We cut this corner tight and then we explode out through the end cone. So on our box jumps here, we want to make sure we have a nice fluid movement. When we on our load, we want to load the arms and the legs at the same time and then explode up. So what Darius show us here. Down and explode. Good. Stick the landing. Do 2 more. Line it up. That's good. Last one there. Line it up. Drive. Good.
So this here, focusing on the explosiveness and the jump. the high knees. Focusing on getting the knees up, keeping the feet up, the toes up. And now we got butt kicks. Focusing on driving the heel up, trying to touch the butt.
Next we have high skip. We have the alternating hand, the alternating knee going high up.
Here we have the back pedal with reach. We're trying to get from one end to the other with as few steps as possible. Heel to the butt and reach back. Power karaoke here, focusing on driving the knee up and over. We're gonna do this going down and back to hit both ends. We're doing a knee pull with a lunge. Pull the knee up to the chest, feel the stretch in the glute. Right into a lunge, feeling that stretch in the hip flexor. Careful with that knee on the track. Try not to bounce off it. Lunge in every step.
This here is a quad pull into the RDL. Main thing to focus on here is your balance and getting that good stretch in your quad.
Next is a push-up with a rotation, making sure you're following your hand with your eyes. You're alternating sides to get both sides really opening up the chest here. Trying to get those hands as high as you can towards that ceiling.
So here we have the hang clean progression. Warm up to the hang clean. And this incorporates 3 different movements. The first one is just a hinge. Focusing on keeping the back straight, keeping the bar close to your body. And the second one is the hinge with the shoulder shrug. Focusing on exploding through the hips. And then the third one is a high pull.
All right, next we have the full clean. So as you can see on the last one, Sam was having a lot of pain in her shoulder. So if you ever have someone who has an injury in their shoulder, it might be good not to put the catch in. But now we have Eric showing the full clean progression. So he's bending down, hinging from the hips and exploding that bar up in the air. Those hands are just kind of holding onto the bar and the bar is just flying up and he's catching it at the top.
So here we have the split squat variation, working unilateral movement here, and we're driving the knee down to the ground, keeping the weight through the front heel, okay, activate the hamstrings a little bit, and we want to make sure we're about a 6-inch gap from the back knee to the front heel. Nice upright posture, don't let that bar bring you forward. Good.
Here we have the Russian twist, focusing on twisting the core, engaging the abs, and getting that ball to touch the ground on each side. Really tighten up that core, keeping the legs up. And there you go.
Next we're doing the banded goblet squat. So we have our bands crossing our body so that we have a lot of resistance going down into our goblet squat, making sure those elbows are keeping that weight up on your chest and squatting down, keeping those knees pushing outward to get that extra motion there.
So here we have the what we call bird dog. We're going to be in quadruped here, hands and knees, and we're going to alternate extending our arm and leg, keeping a nice tight core. So we want our belly button drawn to the spine here, keeping that bracing, and we don't want to see a lot of lumbar sag here. So we want to make sure that we're nice and straight through our spine.
Next we have the strict press, looking at engaging the core, keeping that body nice and tight so we're not moving the bar around too much. It's just going up and down over your head, extending those elbows out and coming back down in a nice controlled manner.
Yep. Here we have the lat pull down. Focusing on squeezing when you pull down, squeezing those back muscles, the lats. And making sure that you control it on the way up as well.